All right. Synopsis for this series reads as thus. Sam Wilson allies himself with Bucky Barnes to embark on a series of international adventures. The duo, drawn together by their ties to Steve Rogers, to thwart the activities of the Flag Smashers, an anti-patriotism terrorist cell. Now, this one I might need more help, especially since you've seen it multiple times, because I'm having trouble, remembering. I remember some of the broad strokes.
Like some of the basics. I'm not going to be too specific.
Well, in the first episode, I know that. So it starts out with Sam returning the shield to the government,
right?
Because
Well, maybe I'll have some opening remarks. Is coming into this, I didn't have huge hopes because I don't know. I had from Captain America and stuff. I just hadn't developed a lot of feeling for these characters, so I was like, they're gonna have to first make me care about these characters, and then have a good story after that. So I was like, they have a hill to climb, and I saw them attempting some of that, but it just didn't come off.
Oh yeah, I guess I could open this up. And what's your guys? So that's your kind of spoiler-free impressions,
right? That doesn't have too many specifics, but kind of what I thought they needed, I guess.
I think that it was clear that they had a different idea in mind, and because of certain things that happened, like the virus and stuff, the coronavirus, they weren't able to pursue certain storylines further, I think.
That's possible. I mean, I have no idea what filming troubles people are going through and stuff, but
yeah, this. I mean, I do like the characters, but overall, this series just struck me as okay. I did like it. Yeah. It didn't blow me away. I thought, I don't think it ever had the intrigue that WandaVision had. But yeah, it's weird because this one is 6 episodes, and part of me thinks that maybe they could use some extra episodes, but at the same time, there was part in certain episodes where I was like, man, they're dragging on.
Right, they could have. There's things they could have cut.
Yeah, they're just concentrating on things they don't need to concentrate on. But I guess we'll get to that. Yeah. So what I do remember is episode 1 opens with what I think is kind of the best action piece maybe in the whole series, where Sam he's rescues this guy out of a helicopter,
like a pilot or a captain or something.
Yeah, and George St. Pierre, who plays Baytrock, he was in the Winter Soldier movie. He's also there, but they end up having this sequence where they're the bad guys are flying in the bat suits, right? And he's swooping through this canyon after them, and there's helicopters shooting missiles at him. That was maybe, I think, my favorite action sequence out of the whole show was that whole thing with him flying through the canyon and stuff like that. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, no, I definitely thought that was cool. My favorite action sequence comes later when there's a big fight, but that was pretty cool. I liked it a lot.
I mean, I'm always kind of cashed out during the action, but yeah, I mean, it seemed pretty strong. Like you said, though, what are they, squirrel gliders or glider costumes or whatever? But it was interesting. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I think Marvel did a good job of putting money into this show. They definitely spent a lot of money, it felt like.
Yeah, those kind of action scenes take a long time to shoot, and they're not cheap. That's for sure. So yeah, like you were saying, it kind of opens up so we know at the end of Avengers Endgame, Steve gives Falcon the shield, but he to start off with, I guess, doesn't feel right about taking it, or he's kind of nervous about taking the mantle of the shield.
It feels like it's kind of above him.
Yeah. So he ends up giving the shield to the Smithsonian.
Yeah, he's thinking he's retiring the shield.
Right. He's putting it as a symbol, something kind of untouchable.
Yeah.
And then that turns around relatively quickly.
6 months later.
Yeah. And then at the same time, Bucky, he finds himself, he's gotten a pardon from the government, but one of the conditions of the pardon is he's got to go see a therapist every week.
And isn't there some point where they're oh, he broke his probation or something?
There is, but they get him out of that pretty quickly.
But yeah, so like I was saying, they got to kind of make us care about these characters, so they kind of have a side story for both characters, and Bucky's is he's rehabilitating, he's going to therapy, he's all teenage angst or something, he's not happy,
Yeah.
Well, he's got this like PTSD and guilt from all the things he
Right.
did while he was the Winter Soldier.
Which is another thing that I think is kind of stupid because he's trying to get therapy for these things, but he hasn't like gone cold turkey on violence. He's still out there fighting people. Right?
Well, he's not supposed to. Like, one of his terms is like, or at least his therapist makes like a rule that he's not allowed to like fight or hurt people or something. And
yeah, which
like
makes
3
his
rules.
position of fighting for the government pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But I get the sense that when he's out there fighting, he's like going the extra mile to try to not kill people, and not like, or at least not hurt innocent people.
This discussion is going to come up again later, but I'll wait. So there's that, and then there's this other part that just seems so unrealistic. Is what's his name now? Hawk.
Hawkeye. Oh no.
Not Hawkeye.
Falcon.
Jesus. I'm mixing up my birds. So basically, his side story is like he goes back to his home or whatever, and it's his sister, or cousin,
His
Sister.
his sister. She's got
Sarah.
She's got the family business of running like the fishing boat or whatever, but it's getting kind of dilapidated. So he's trying to like save the family business for whatever, and they go to a bank. And this guy, this national hero working for this like $1 billion corporation or whatever, like he can't even like scrape up a small business loan to save his sister's boat. And I'm just like,
Yeah, they
This
did him
is,
dirty. Well, he was on the run. He was on the run for 2 years with Captain America. So they weren't supported by the government then. But then after that, it's been 6 months since the snap. So yeah, he didn't get any reimbursement for anything he did. Yeah.
but so that part's kind of weird. There's other part that's weird that comes up later.
Well, just to go off of that, yeah, I thought the same thing, and I think I talked to you off camera about this before. It's like, are they really not paying the Avengers anything? They're basically working for the government. They're saving the world, and you're and you're telling me they don't get any money from doing that?
He should have at least been able to put together like a GoFundMe or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't buy that Falcon is just like this broke guy that can't help his sister fix the boat.
In the comics, they're all making like 6 figures. The Avengers.
Yeah. So that's kind of his side story. They're trying to get you to care about him. Another part of Bucky's is like he's friends with this old man, but somehow he's like forged this friendship because at some point he killed the guy's son.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's a weird little side story. But the thing is, like, neither of those side stories really ever go anywhere. They're just kind of like ballast.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that story comes to a head in like the final episode when he, finally gets the courage to sit down with the guy and tell him that he was the one that killed his son.
I guess it feels like a weird ending, even though I guess he's addressing that or something.
Yeah, like he wanted to give the guy closure. I think he just was having a hard time doing it because he liked the guy.
But I don't know. I wasn't like invested in that. And then like, this is kind of jumping ahead, but the 5th episode, like he goes home and tries to take care of his sister and takes care of that loose end, but it's not relevant to the story really. So it's just kind of like, it feels weird.
Yeah, you told me you called that the Bubba Gump episode.
Yeah, that's the
and you're
Bubba
totally
Gump
right. And I agree. And that's one of the things where like, well, maybe we didn't need more episodes. Maybe we just needed to cut the fat on things like this. Because I was like, at a certain point, I'm like, God, I do not need to see him fixing this fucking boat anymore. That
one dragged
that was my
on.
least favorite episode.
But that one also had like the training montage. So that one was pretty much all exposition. And it was like, I felt like it was calm before the storm. They were trying to set things up for the final episode.
Yeah.
And they were trying to establish like the relationship between Bucky and Sam was getting closer too.
Right. So there was that stuff going on. It probably wasn't the best episode, but it just didn't feel like it had enough flesh on it. And another problem I think was just the bad guys. It's kind of like this faceless organization, and they're basically, I want to say like Antifa. I mean, there's a couple kind of key players within it, but you don't really know that much about them or care, or it's just not very interesting.
Well, I will say, like, I do at the core like find their motive kind of interesting. How they like, basically they're anti-patriotism. They're like, we should just not be stupid, and we should be one one world rather than all these stupid political subdivisions. The one thing they referenced though that I didn't maybe 100% get is it sounds like when the snap happened and there was less people, like they moved into certain territories, and then like when the unsnap happened, like people were like, "Hey, get the fuck out of my house" or whatever, and they ended up being displaced. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
I was kind of confused by that
Yeah, I think it
whole
was
thing.
pretty much like that. Like, probably house prices dropped or whatever. People moved into different places. And also, like, borders were open. I think refugees were moving from one place to another or whatever. So I think a lot of those things were happening at once. That's what the GRC was trying to manage or whatever.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I did think there was like an interesting set of ideals behind their group, but I don't know if it was ever explored to a satisfactory conclusion.
Well, there's that part. Like I said, there's maybe a couple key characters, but there's also the thing. Well, we're jumping around quite a bit.
Yeah,
but I feel like anytime you got bad guys with masks, like you lose something.
Yeah.
Especially when they're all wearing very similar generic, like they become just kind of a mob.
Yeah, and there weren't that many of them either. Like the Flag Smashers who were like strong.
yeah. There's maybe like 6 of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's like a handful of. We didn't talk about this, but super soldiers. Basically, they have this serum. Basically, you get the Captain America strength or whatever.
They're led by that Carly Morgenthau or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right, she's kind of one of the main ones. So there's that. But let's back up because we talked about how he gave the shield to the museum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, it was like you just turn around and the American government's like, oh, here's your new Captain America. And you bring out this guy holding the shield. You're like, wow, that didn't take very long.
Yeah, the whole ceremony retiring.
That's true. It's like
Another thing was weird is like the guy who played him, he said it's Kurt Russell's son, right?
yeah, Wyatt Russell.
Oh.
Wyatt Russell. But like he's a really good looking guy out of the suit, but when he puts the mask on, for some reason he looks really dopey because his ears stick way out, and he looks like Dopey from like Snow White just put on like a Captain America helmet.
Yeah, especially like in the end of the first episode when they first reveal, and he's like clean shaven.
Yeah.
Like I think as the series goes on and he has like a
Some
little bit of
stubble.
gruff, he looks not quite as weird.
Bad, yeah.
But yeah, when he's clean shaven, like that first shot, I'm like, yeah, you're right. He looks weird.
But yeah, so I mean, he was kind of an interesting character. I feel like they didn't like flesh him out enough, maybe, because he has this. Well, should I skip to the?
I think it's fine that we're skipping around.
Right. So, like they've had some fights and stuff, and he's doing an okay job as Captain America or whatever. But they get to this one spot where, like, he loses his cool and like he kills one of these Antifa guys, and it's on film or whatever, and there's blood on the shield, and they're like, he's killed somebody, and it's like this big thing. But like, if you think about regular Captain America, how many times he's banked that thing off some dude's head? Like, Captain America's killed some motherfuckers. It's like not like a few.
Oh, he's careful.
Yeah, like he had enough finesse not to get blood on the shield, maybe.
But anytime he kills someone, it's like Hydra. It's like someone who's like totally a Nazi. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's okay to kill those people.
But don't show any blood.
Yeah.
So actually, that was kind of a turning point in the character. I said, well,
He did use a gun in the first movie, though.
I don't know.
When he fought the Nazis, he used a gun.
Nobody cares if you shoot Nazis, though.
Yeah.
That's some of my favorite video games.
Yeah.
Just shooting Nazis. But, yeah, so he does this, and you're like, well, now he's got, like, this dark side. He's got this stuff he's going to be fighting with. And they kind of set him up like you think he's going to be, like, a bad guy. Like, he's going to be somebody you're gonna be fighting. And basically, immediately after that, with no, like, building conflict or tension or anything, they fight him, they take the shield away, and that's, like, kind of the end of it. And I'm like, well, it's not the end of it, because this government official, but what's her name?
Val.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Val,
Yeah.
And she comes in, she basically propositions him, which is kind of another weird thing, because they fought him and took him down and took his shield, but like there were no other consequences for killing somebody.
Yeah, that's true. He just got like no more Captain America.
Right, you can't be Captain America anymore, but Well, like sometime in his fighting, because he wasn't a super soldier, but like he got the serum in one of these fights, and like he injected himself, and so he became a super soldier. But yeah, basically he's just going to be working for some other branch of the government, apparently.
Yeah, doing some shady stuff.
Doing shady stuff later.
But a couple things about that. So, first of all, you know, they have the whole thing where he has to go in front of the Senate, and they basically like browbeat him, and they're like, "You're lucky we ain't giving you worse punishment," and all this. But my thing is, I don't think the U.S. government would operate like this. I think they would go, Captain America took out this guy was a terrorist, and it was a justified killing. And I don't think they would have this big public thing.
Yeah.
I think they would just go, this is a Captain America for the times we live in now. And, you know, I just don't buy that they would oust him like that. Yeah. And then I also thought, like, as much as I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like, she's, like, such a kind of, like, mustache-twirling bad guy in this, which I guess is fine.
Yeah, I didn't really have an issue with that.
Like, you know, I think in the comics she's like Madam Hydra, actually, like her character. So, yeah, I guess... And I kind of knew at some point he'd be, well, I figured he'd become U.S. agent because that's his character in the comics. But yeah, for a minute there, I almost thought they were going to make him a straight up villain, but then towards the end, like they kind of ease off that a little bit.
Together again, right at the end. Like he's there in that fight.
Yeah, he's part of the team at the end.
Yeah. They I noticed that with a couple characters, both him and the Carly Morgenthau character, they kind of do a Shades of Grey thing where, like, even with her, like, sometimes, like, she kills people, but other times you can kind of see that she's trying to do good in her own mind anyway. So yeah, they kind of do the same thing with her, where like she's not all bad.
Yeah, there's no black and white.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what makes a good villain, is that they have their own kind of mindsets. But
one storyline we haven't talked about is, I think in episode 2, Bucky takes Falcon to this guy's house. His name's Isaiah
Bradley.
Yeah. And basically we find out that he was also given the super soldier serum, you know, way back in the day. And basically he did a bunch of heroic stuff just like Steve Rogers did, but it was kind of swept under the rug. And then the Army put him in prison for like 30 years or something.
Yeah, when he came back, like, yeah, he was being tested on. He was officially in prison.
Well, I think at one point he says that, like, he found out that the Army was going to kill some of his buddies, so he went and saved them, and then he's like, it didn't matter. They ended up killing him anyway and throwing me in prison for 30 years or something.
Oh, right. The other ones, like, on his crew, they were in, like, POW camps or something.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to go in for him and save him, so he went by himself.
Yeah, something like that.
But I think they died because of the serum. He was the only one who survived. I don't know if the government
was it?
killed him.
I thought maybe they just died on other missions or something. I'm not sure. I wasn't.
Yeah,
it could have been this. Yeah, I don't remember. It could have been. You might.
But at any
right.
rate, eventually they died anyway.
Yeah. And then I think it was at the beginning of the Bubba Gump episode, like he had a conversation with just Falcon, and I actually thought it was a pretty good conversation, where he talked. Actually, that maybe. Oh, he talked about the other aspect of it was like, the Army when he was in prison, like kept the letters from his wife from getting to him. Kind of the sad story about how, you know, and she ended up dying, and you know he never got the letters until afterwards or whatever. And he basically tells Sam that they'll never accept a black Captain America, basically.
Right. Yeah. So he's kind of putting that storyline out there.
Yeah, he told him don't do it.
He feels like he's another part to me where they're trying to put something in just to kind of get it in there. Like, it feels a little preachy at some points.
I can see that.
I mean, yeah, but I get that. But at the same time, like, you know, if he was, like, you know, think about it, if, like, this character, like, real-life Captain America, you would think they would have those kinds of issues, wouldn't they? Like, they would have those kinds of identity crises and...
Well, I mean, it's got, like, a lot of conversations about race relations during certain times and stuff. But it doesn't feel like it fits in the main narrative. It feels like they're just trying to say something, I guess.
Oh, I think Sam just being black like makes him feel like, you know how John Walker got the Captain America like thing. I know he was like an excellent soldier and
right,
like, you know, whatever, top of his class and everything, but it does make Sam think like, you know, oh, okay, they gave it to a white guy, not me. Can I be the face? You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through that conflict and that kind of questioning himself.
Yeah, and Isaiah Bradley kind of points him in the direction of no, don't do it. You know,
right?
And then he has to think about it himself and figure out what he wants to do.
Right.
I will say, I think it is cool for a show like this to go there and like explore the idea of you know, racism. I don't know if a Marvel superhero show will necessarily, you know, explore it in enough detail to really, you know.
I loved Black Panther's explanation, like Killmonger, like why he was the way he was, how they explained the race stuff in there. Like that was a really good way to do it, I thought. This one, yeah, it wasn't as smooth, I guess.
I think just because the guy doesn't really play any other part in the movie other than kind of like that opposition to him, that kind of voice maybe, and then just kind of like a side story. But yeah, so at some point, like he decides, okay, I am going to try to be Captain America when he has the shield back, right? And so he cleans the blood off or whatever. And this is part of the Bubba Gump one because they have this like training montage where he's throwing the shield into trees and all this stuff and back and forth.
Now, I have a question about that because, like, Bucky actually has the super serum in him, right? Like, he's super strong and everything. But Sam, the Falcon, doesn't. Now, I know, like, the shield's made out of vibranium or whatever, but, like, wouldn't you have to be... Like, they're just flinging this big shield. Like, wouldn't he have to be...
Like 500 yards?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't think, like, a regular... Like, even a buff guy like Anthony Mackie would be able to fling the shield like he does. It seems like that was something that should have to take super-duper strength.
Right.
I just chalked it up to the special properties of vibranium.
Whatever vibranium. It's super light. It self-accelerates.
Yeah.
I was also talking to him. I think that it's one of the sillier aspects of Captain America that he's always like flinging this thing around and he like ping pongs it all over the place and it always comes right back to him. I'm like, you're telling me there's never one time where he was like ping ping and it just like goes flying into the ocean and he's like, fuck, lost another one.
You know, in Winter Soldier, he actually drops his shield when they're coming down from that like big whatever it is, like they're in the air and he drops his shield. He's like, I'm not gonna fight you, Bucky, and he goes all the way down into the like out of that aerial vehicle, whatever it was, like it falls all the way to the ground, and somehow he gets his shield back later.
It bounces back.
It's like fucking Thor's hammer.
Right, it just comes to him. Watching that montage where he's just like slinging it off everything, I was like, this dude is just a male version of Xena. Bucky's like his little Gabriel running around. There's going to start being undertones in the next.
So who'd you like more, Xena or Gabriel?
Oh, I liked Xena when I was in that age.
I liked Xena first, then I started liking Gabriel later. That was weird.
I never really watched that show, but yeah, Lucy Lawless, she's a fine woman.
Yeah.
I might go back and watch some Xena. It was on somewhere. I don't remember where I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it on one of the streaming
Sundance
services.
or something.
No, it was like hidden away in like the back of Prime or somewhere. I don't know where. It existed though. I remember
The
seeing
Netflix doesn't win, you know.
Right. Where to find Xena?
So one character we haven't talked about at all is Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
So at one point, like they're trying to find the Flag Smashers, and like Winter Soldier's like, I know the guy that's gonna do it or whatever. So he goes and visits him in prison, and he's like, of course he's gonna have to break him out of prison so that he can Hannibal Lecter him like into finding the people. So he does that, and the whole thing now. I've read some comics with Baron Zemo, but I always thought he was just kind of like a Nazi-ish guy himself.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
But in this context of this show, he's like this guy that's for some reason just like, you know, really against super soldiers.
Yeah.
Like he really has a fucking hard on for getting rid of them.
He hates all of the Avengers.
Yeah, like people that can like abuse authority, I guess.
And he hates, anybody with increased powers and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that like he was like a super genius in like the way he escaped or whatever. And then, like, at the end, he doesn't even make a play to escape. They just, like, take him into custody. And he's, like, reading on a bed.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, with him, that they play every trope as, like, this is a guy that's kind of leading everybody by the nose. And he's, like...
Right, you expect him to have some trick up his sleeve, some backhanded little...
Yeah, but at the end, he's just like, okay...
back to prison.
Women from Africa or whatever, the Dora Milaje, he's like, take me away. I'm like, what? This guy doesn't... I mean, I thought maybe at the very end when he's in that prison, maybe they'd even hint at that he's got some way out of it or something.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah,
so.
I think
he will.
They missed a stroke there, maybe.
Yeah, they definitely missed a beat with him.
Like, he could have disappeared. Or he went missing or something. You'd be like, oh, he's free out in the world. He's, that's going to come back and be interesting.
The other thing is, like, in the comics, like, he's famous for having the purple mask. In this show, like, he puts it on for, like, 2 seconds while he's, like, shooting those guys at the shipping yard. And, like, that's it.
Yeah, but I mean...
Not that you really need it all
it'd
the
be
time,
weird if he was wearing a purple mask, right? He's just hanging out with the guys.
But yeah, so I thought he was okay, but yeah, I just thought that it was kind of unsatisfying that they didn't give him more in the end.
Yeah, do something.
I thought it was... I didn't know all about the character, and I was surprised to find out he was rich and had a butler, and they were taking a flight this way and that way. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
Now, it's been a long time since I watched Captain America Civil War. What did he do in that movie that pissed off the Dora Milaje so much? 'Cause why are they after him so much? Yeah.
He killed King T'Chaka.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Okay. Let's see. Oh, so the other person, so at one point they go to Madripoor, which in the comics is like a very X-Men related city, but it's like basically like this kind of lawless criminal run city. And we run into Sharon Carter, and with her, and we find out at some point that there's this mysterious character named the Power Broker that they keep mentioning that kind of is the person behind that pulls the strings in Madripoor. And then, spoiler alert, at the end of the, basically the last episode, we find out that that's her.
Which didn't make sense to me because Zemo talks about the power broker and he says he. So I was like, what? Maybe she killed that power broker and took his spot, if that's a thing. I don't know. But that was strange because Zemo had met the power broker before.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a misdirection. I don't know exactly.
And she was a billionaire because she had all those crazy artworks in her house. And she was only there for 6 months? Because she went on the run with Captain America or something like that. So for 2 years. Then she gets wiped out in the blip. So she's not there for 5 years. And then 6 months after the blip, she comes back, or after that, she comes back. She's a billionaire. So in 6 months, she became the power broker, super powerful, super rich, all this stuff in just 6 months.
Yeah, and they mentioned a couple times, too, about them, going underground and on the run after the events of Civil War. And I got to say, just from watching the movies, you never really feel that.
Yeah.
That time.
Only Infinity War when they're kind of we've been on the run for 2 years, they tell you. Or whatever.
Yeah, so you never really feel that time that they're supposedly underground or whatever. And when she said it was 2 years or whatever, I was like, really? Because I didn't even know that. I don't know. I just never really felt it. But yeah, because in the comics, she's actually becomes Captain Steve Rogers' girlfriend, and she's a good person. That's a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think. But here they're kind of turning her villainous. Now, do you think they're gonna make her a full on irredeemable villain, or do you think they're gonna kind of play her in a gray area as well?
I mean, she's in a gray area right now. I think. I don't know. I don't think they'll do it with two characters. I think Wanda could become evil. I'm not sure, but I feel like Wanda could. And if she does, then they're not going to do that the same thing with Sharon Carter.
Yeah. I would think they would go more evil with Sharon Carter than they would with Wanda. But who knows?
Yeah.
I thought too, like, there's that moment in episode 6 where, like, she puts that, like, little, like, gas bomb on the guy, and he goes in his car.
Melts him.
Yeah, like, melts his skin. And then she's like, oh, I took care of him. And the guy's like, how'd you do that? And I thought she was going to, like, make up something. Like, but no, she's like, oh, I took him out with, like, a mercury, like, bomb or something. Yeah. So, like, she like, told the truth. Yeah. I thought she was going to lie there, and we'd be like, oh, she's, like, really a bad person. But then I'm like, well, I don't know. She did a bad thing, but she was honest about it.
That's how I roll.
And then she also killed, what's her name? Rosenthal or Carly Rosenthal?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Morgenthau.
And, like, their conversation beforehand didn't, basically, she set these people up with the super serums or something like that, didn't she?
She was the power, so she was getting the super serum made by that scientist.
Oh.
And then those guys just kind of like said, screw it, we're going to steal it and take it. Or something like that. That's my understanding.
But didn't her and that Carly girl have something worked out?
Yeah, they had a relationship. I don't know if she was supposed to be like her super soldier or something, like, because she does mention like she wanted to use them.
Yeah, I feel like she gave them the super serum, and they were supposed to do
her bidding.
Yeah, her bidding, and then they went their own way with all the Flag Smasher stuff that maybe,
it could be it.
Wasn't what Sharon had in mind or something along those lines. I was a little confused. I don't know. Let's see. Overall, is there any characters or story beats that we missed that you guys maybe want to talk about?
I think the one thing that's sticking out is ultimately how they defeated the terrorists by, like, using Uber, like an Uber app or something. Oh. They were using like some kind of meetup group app.
That's right.
And they're like, oh, we knew you were going to be.
They gave him the phone in the first place.
And then they didn't even like fight. They're like, ah, shit. They found out about the app. I guess we're done. Yeah, that was just kind of like a weak ass.
Yeah, they had to use something, I guess.
And so yeah, we also didn't mention that he gets a Vibranium Shield or Vibranium wings.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, the Wandans like made him a costume or whatever for Bucky to give to him. And the wings were vibranium, because you see his wings get clipped off like a few times in this show, like I think a couple times at least.
Now, at that one point with his old wings, that army guy that's throughout the show is like, "Hey, your wings," and he's like, "Keep them." Do you think they're eventually going to do something with that guy and make him like a Falcon?
Our new Falcon warrior,
White Falcon. Actually, that guy might be Latino. I don't know.
Mexican Falcon,
Brown Falcon,
a Mexican that can fly. That'll give Trump nightmares.
Now, one moment that I know is supposed to be like, hurrah, but I thought was maybe a little like eye rolling was when at the very end when he does put on the costume, the one guy's like, "Look, it's Black Falcon," and then the other guy's like, "No, that's Captain America," and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, he also has another one of the speeches that I don't really remember now, but I remember at the time I felt like, that's preaching. I didn't need to hear it too much. But then we didn't talk about like the old black guy, like at the very end, he goes and sets up this big tribute at the museum. Oh, yeah. So he takes the guy there. And so they kind of wrap that up, and it's kind of nice. So
yeah,
he did have like his big speech with like the senator on TV or whatever.
Right.
And I actually didn't mind that. I thought he hit like some good points in that speech. I thought it was well done.
I didn't think the Flag Smashers were completely evil. I thought they had some they had some sympathetic points to consider. So I think he was just putting across like, hey, look, the other side, you're not looking at it, this and that. So yeah, it was a little preachy, but I didn't mind it.
I wonder, because like I'm pretty sure they said WandaVision was planned as just like a one series and that's it. Do you guys think they'll do more of this as a show, or do you think they'll? Well, I guess at the very end, they changed it to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Well, they're making a fourth movie for Captain America with him.
I thought I saw that somewhere. Yeah,
maybe kind of see where that goes before they commit. I don't know.
Oh, I was gonna go. Like, where do you said you thought maybe they did things differently than they would have because of the coronavirus, and I didn't necessarily pick up on that.
So that Mama Donna lady, like they show her dying in a hospital bed, and I just felt like she was probably a bigger character because I heard that she was like a pretty like famous actress where she's from, and she's very good at what she does. So I just thought for her to be in like one scene and to have that narration, like, okay, come
And
back.
then have it be cut out.
Yeah, it just felt like there was something missing. And like there was also that storyline of vaccines getting to people and stuff. And it just felt like there was more to that. Like people dying from the vaccine and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a number of things that just didn't feel like they all fit together super tight.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't quite as finely crafted as some of the Marvel stuff that is out there.
Yeah, kind of like the Zemo thing where you're like expecting a little bit more and it never happens. Oh, and then like his butler guy like blew up the last like four super soldier people.
It's a very good butler apparently.
Yeah, good help is hard to find.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything
Maybe that'd
else?
be a good character, the butler.
No. Alfred, he's been around for a long time.
Alfred's always there in the clutch, man.
He is. Alfred's a good character.
Zemo's like evil Batman then.
And technically, in the comics, Jarvis, well, to start out with early on in the comics, was like a real guy at Avengers Mansion and was like a butler. And I think he's still around, but I think now he's like an AI, like robot type. In the Marvel universe, Tony from the start made him like the AI in his suit or whatever. All right. Any other characters or points you can think of that? Oh,
I think that's enough of the big ones.
What was your favorite action scene? Was it
the fight between Bucky and Falcon versus John Walker.
Oh, okay.
That was my favorite. Yeah, he the way he used his wings in like that small enclosed space, I thought that was really creative.
Yeah, he did it a couple times, didn't he? Like in different fights where he'd like use the jetpack like real quick to like get like a kick on somebody that was more powerful and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So overall, score out of 10, what would you give Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Give it like a 7.2.
I might get a 6.
I'll give it a 7. I thought it was good, but not like exceptional.